It's hard to believe it's been a year.
This one kind of hurts a little bit, man.
So, first thing that comes to mind to say, I guess, is that I spent a lot of time in Mark's backyard. He had a ring set up in this like little area that was like a desert.
He had it was an old gimmick. This is before
He was a backyard wrestler,
Yeah,
and I found the YouTube,
wrestling.
and he told me not to bring it up.
And it was him and Tommy coming out together. Tommy was still managing.
Mark was more than just a riding buddy, more than just a worker that I managed. Mark was somebody that knew the real me.
There wouldn't be, in my opinion, a CJ Evans without Mark Hazzard in some way, shape, form, or fashion, because Mark, we've shared the ring so many times. We've shared so many phone calls and messages and texts, and it's hard for me to think of a time without having you there, and it's been rough this last year.
You were somebody that was easy to click with and easy to communicate with, even though you thought that nobody really was even going to look your way. You tried to hide in locker rooms almost.
Out of everybody that I ever met in the locker room, he was always the nicest. He was always the most friendly. Always came in, gave me a hug whenever he saw me. We got close really quickly.
In professional wrestling, very few people come into the locker room that actually change the atmosphere. Every single show that came, I look forward to nothing more than getting the Mark, laughing it up, having a grand old time.
So, I'm sure a lot of these have been pretty sad. And, I'm sad too,
But I will say this. Mark believed in me so much and had high hopes for me that in my head I was like, I still want to honor Mark. I want to do it right by him.
I really miss you, dude. I really do. And I wish you could be here to see the progress. And I love you. And we'll see each other soon.
All right, how we doing, everybody? My name is Daniel. We just saw that emotional video, which kind of brings us to what we're doing here tonight, and we're honoring Mark Hazzard, and we're talking about a show that is dedicated to his memory, where all of the proceeds are going to his family, and that show is taking place on March 9th. In Southern Pines, North Carolina. All proceeds are going to the family of Mark Hazzard. My name is Daniel. I'm joined here with Trey, Havoc, and CJ Evans. How's it going, guys?
I mean, we put that at the beginning of the podcast, and I was like, it just hits the feels right off the bat.
Can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Fuck you for that.
I'm sorry. I wanted people to understand the significance of the events, and I realize that puts you in a little bit of a tougher situation, but I think that emotions are good because we are talking about somebody that meant a lot to you guys. And I'd like to start off this show with kind of talking about who Mark was as a wrestler, as a friend, and also how he was with you guys. So whoever wants to go first, just want to share a few words.
Trey, you can go first because I might need a second.
Oh, and I don't. I met Mark about right around 4 or 5 years ago at Adrenaline Pro Wrestling, and basically since I walked through the door, dude was open arms. He was like Devin said in our opening little stinger, you try to hide in locker rooms when you first get there because you don't know anybody, and kind of just keep to yourself. And he was not going to let that happen. He was not that type of guy. So he would make sure you were seen, make sure you knew that you were okay and you were safe with him. And I really appreciated it. But we didn't really like click or like get close until a little bit later. I ended up having I had a promo segment scheduled with the booker. I had a promo segment for during intermission, and I go out there and I'm saying what I have to say, and then Mark comes out, and we look at each other, and I whispered to him like, "The fuck you doing?" And he whispers to me, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So we both kind of like whatever, and then we go to the back, and he's like, I had a promo segment scheduled for this. I was like, "So did I." I was like, "You fucked up my promo." So that was a running joke of ours for years. And then ah then when me and my wife got engaged and we were setting our wedding date, he was like, "You know how I fucked up your promo?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I'm gonna fuck up your wedding like that. I'm just gonna fucking come and crash your wedding." I was like, "You don't have to crash my wedding. You're invited." But he thought it'd be funny if he crashed it.
Mine was kind of similar to Trey's. I met him through Adrenaline Pro Wrestling as well, and he did basically the same thing to me. Like I kind of walked in and like I didn't know anybody there except like a couple people because I mean I'd been to the shows to like watch a few of them before I started like showing up, and Mark instantly came over to me. He started talking to me. And just, he was like, oh, just tell, we was like discussing like kind of like what got us into wrestling and who our favorite people were and stuff like that. And then I really got to get to know Mark better when we moved over to Ace and I started doing like some matches with him periodically. And that's when we really started to get into the creative mind of like, well, what can we do, here? And then next thing I know, we had the whole COVID thing happen and shut down a bunch of wrestling stuff. And then my first match back after like COVID, like, because I took like a year off because of COVID. And then my first match back, I got up with Mark and he was telling me, he's like, "Hey man, I'm super glad to see that you're coming back." He's like, "Will you please come back and let me be your first match back?" And I was like, "I mean, absolutely, dude. I love you to death." So then we go in there and we just had a great match. It's like, even though we hadn't done anything during that year, we were still like perfectly, like, it's like we just like picked right up where we left off. And I was just super thankful that he he was one of the only guys that I at the time I would trust to like come back after being off for a year because I mean like I was still training, but I
Yeah.
hadn't been in the ring. So like I was like, man, this is a big deal to me because this is basically like a year-long absence comeback. And then Mark he got in there and he picked up right where we left off, and I just really appreciated him being there for me at that time.
Of course. It sounds like he was a great guy, not only in the locker room, but a great guy in the ring. For what do you think, for people that may not know Mark, like what are some things that you want people to know about him as a wrestler, but also a person?
Mark was funny. He was outgoing. He made sure everybody was comfortable. Made sure everybody was happy. If you came in, he was the first person to give you a hug. Um, then dude was very giving in the ring. Awesome performer. I worked him twice, and both times were just some of the most fun because going in there, you go with somebody that you know is going to do what they need to do,
Mhm.
and you can trust to be there for everything. And it was just he connected with crowds effortlessly because he like his aura just radiated off of him. There's so many things like
I feel like for me that as a wrestler, I feel like he was very underrated because I feel like he was always the first person to to like just like Trey said, he would give everything. And every time he stepped in the ring, it didn't matter whether it was a one-on-one, a tag team, a triple threat, a six-man, multi-man rumble. He didn't care. He gave it 110% every single night. And it didn't matter if he wrestled the same person because, like with me, as a person, when I started with alternative combat wrestling, he got with me and me and him were talking and they were like, well, we're going to work y'all in this angle. And me and Mark sat down one night and it was me, him, and Tommy Price. And we sat down for like 2.5 hours planning out this whole like 8-month thing. And we were like, talking as friends, joking, cutting up. And it was like, that's him as a person. People didn't realize how intelligent he was when it come to the wrestling business because it's like he knew what people wanted before he gave it to them.
Yeah.
And we worked out this whole thing, pitched it to the owner. Owner loved it and ran with it. And then we did this whole thing on ACW and it was just like it went straight according to plan and everything was just great. The crowd loved it. I loved it. Mark loved it. Tommy loved it. And it was so like it's just so hard to explain him because as like I said, as a wrestler, I feel like that he didn't get the push that he needed.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that he got what he deserved because he was just so much better than what people gave him credit for. And then as a person, his creativity was just like light years ahead of people because it's like I said, he knew what the crowd wanted. He knew what the people wanted. Whether it was the fans, the other workers, the promoter, it didn't matter. He knew what they wanted before he ever gave it to them. So he just to study how he did that was a blessing to me.
Yeah. I think there's very special people in wrestling. I think like Scrapyard Dog is one of them for a lot of people that he's
Absolutely.
like there. And it seems like Mark was that for you and for a lot of people. And we have this event coming up in his honor, Back to the Wasteland. You guys are both going to be there. It is March 9th in Southern Pines, North Carolina. What are you guys, how are you preparing for this event? What do you guys have in store? Are you guys in the Wasteland Rumble? Am I correct?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, the Wasteland Rumble is this big match where the winner gets to go on to face the current champion, James Johnson, in the main event. James Johnson has been the champion there. He's kind of put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. So I'm sure both of you guys are looking forward to the chance to slap that out.
Well, the biggest thing for me is not necessarily what I'm going to be doing, but like what I'm doing it for, because I'm thankful to be able to be a part of the event and also this podcast. I feel like, on my personal view of it, that Trey said something last year when we did the Mark Hazzard show that stuck out to me, and it's just stayed with me this whole time, and I'm never going to forget this because, and I gotta give credit to Trey because this is what he said, but I quote this on a day-to-day basis, that I'm not wrestling for me anymore. I'm wrestling for people that I love and care about that aren't here anymore. And but when I first started, it was because I wanted to do this. This needed to be for me. But then now it's not for me anymore. Now it's because I'm trying to let everybody else's memory live on, especially somebody like Mark Hazzard, because he was such a big part and role in my personal, I guess, character development, that I'm not going to let, like, this event is definitely big to me because I got to go in here not just to entertain the fans, but because I know that Mark's going to be watching and I'm going to give it 150%.
Well said.
Yeah, I did say that. It's my back. My back hurts from carrying the people that I've lost, and that's why I can't quit this. If it were just me, I would have quit a long time ago. But I know so many people that believed in me and knew what I was capable of, want me to keep going, and that's what I do. And last year, at the first Wasteland Rumble, that one, because I keep it up here, I got really close to winning, but Hambone won, and I was so fucking happy for him because one of us needed to win that for him. I would love for it to be me, but Hambone came out of that, and he won that. So this year, I know once I go in there, once I step into that ring, I know who's with me, and whatever happens, happens. But my hand's going to be raised at the end of the night for Mark.
Sounds like you guys have a lot of motivation going into this match. I feel like Trey, you're gonna have like next time you see me, you can punch me really hard.
Yeah, I have to. I have to assert dominance.
But yeah, this match, not only are you getting a chance at the championship, but you're also getting a chance to honor the legacy of Mark. So there's a lot on the line. There's some other matches on the card. We've got a lethal mayhem match between Devin Worthy and Kate Seidel. I understand that you CJ had the chance to beat Cade when he had that title in the past when he was the leader of the EGO stable. Now he's in a chance to kind of get back at the group that kicked him out. What are you guys' thoughts on this match?
I mean, with me, I did have the opportunity to handle that situation, and I was definitely involved in the ego shenanigans for basically the better part of like I'd say 7 to 8 months. And once I was out of it, like once I was gone from it, then I was like after like once I won the title back, I was like, okay, I'm washing my hands of this. I'm not involved in this anymore. But then I know that Cade continued to follow on with it. And he, he's went on to be in this huge rivalry now because he's not a part of Ego anymore. And he's trying to, I guess, prove to everybody that, he's exactly what he says he is. And that's the pride and everything. So with this match between him and Devin going forward, I feel like that it's going to be a very like hard hitting back and forth contest with Cade's experience mixed with Devin's experience, and then on top of that, I've seen Devin do some stuff in the ring I ain't never seen nobody else do, and I really think that's going to be a very back and forth contest, along with the fact of just them, basically beating the crap out of each other. So I feel like it's going to be very entertaining for the fans, and people haven't got to see Devin in a ring in a long time. So I feel like that really plays into that as well.
So we have that match that's got a lot of it's personal. I think Cade, a lot of people know him for not only what he does in the ring, but what he does on social media. He's not afraid to tell it like it is. And if you knew nothing about this match and you were friends with him on Facebook, you would definitely know at least part of the story. So it's definitely personal. It's expanding to other parts of the world. It's not just in wrestling. So that's definitely something to look forward to. And then somebody that Trey is very familiar with has a match where he is defending his Carolinas championship against Blade Brown and Draken. You want to speak on this, Trey? I know you've got a lot of experience with Jack in and out of the ring.
I'll speak on the last one, and I'll speak on this one. Jack is, I've said it before on this stream. I've said it to you. I'll say it till my face is blue. Jack's one of my best friends. Jack's also one of the best wrestlers that I've ever met, I've ever known, and I know a lot of them. And I will say the only reason Jack is Carolina's champion is because Mark James broke into my house and kept me from competing for it. But that's a story for another time. Jack has been doing phenomenal with the Carolinas championship. Shut up, Jack.
Oh Lord, he just randomly pops up.
He did say that he single-handedly is holding up ACW, which I you know, I don't know about all that, but I've got my money on him as far as that match goes. To touch on the Lethal Mayhem match, Cade Seidel and Devin Worthy, I know them both very intimately. I actually retired Devin, so that was nice. But
I still remember that spear.
I retired Devin, and he said he was gone. But when Ego kicked out Cade, which I will say, it's a little bit of I love Cade. It's a little bit of his own undoing. He made Ego. His head got a little twisted off of it, and he kind of got what he deserved. But for it to go as far as it has with him, hopefully this is the end. Hopefully this is the end for their thing, and maybe Cade can go and do something else.
He definitely needs his revenge after the whole thing.
I will say, like, I know we just had Sting's last match, but I don't believe that the word retirement should be able to be used in wrestling.
Nah.
Because, like, that was like Sting's third retirement. Like, you look at Ric Flair and like all this stuff. So
you can't keep Ric Flair away from the ring.
No, he needs it financially and probably personally. But yeah, I think that's going to be a good match as well. Do you have anything to say about the triple threat, CJ?
I mean, I'm going to have to play off of what Trey said. I mean, honestly, I've been in the ring with Jack. I've tagged with Jack, and he is one of the strongest competitors that I've ever met. Yeah. And he's one of the most unique wrestlers, I guess, that's a good word, unique.
That's a great word.
Because the way that he gets, I can't even really explain how he does what he does, but that's why you don't know Jack, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But my money's on Jack Tatum. I feel like that after seeing what he's done the last few months as the Carolinas champion, if there's somebody that's going to walk out with that belt, it's going to be him.
Yeah.
This Jack.
Good match either way.
Yes.
Played Brown, amazing.
Absolutely.
Bracken, underrated, I think, in a lot of areas. So it's going to be a match that you're not going to want to miss. We go from that match to a tag team championship match between Blood and Rust and the Anthem. Who do you guys have in this one?
I'm going to go and say Blood and Rust simply because I feel like that they're still trying to prove, even though that they're the champions, I feel like that they're trying to show exactly why they're the champions. Mm-hmm. And just to see them in the way that they correlate in the ring back and forth is very intimidating because, they're both very big guys and they're very tall. Not saying that you can't get knocked down, but coming from my personal experience, I feel like that when you've got a big guy, especially two big guys, that are just with not just like intent to win, but also malice, then it's like you've got your hands full. So if the Anthem is not willing to step up to that level with them, then they're going to have a very hard time, keeping or trying to obtain those championships. Mm-hmm. So, I'm also, like you said, I'm very excited about that match as well.
Yes. They're both young, hungry tag teams. Tuxton Ryan, I've known him since he was a baby in the business, and I've watched him grow and I've watched what he's become, and I could not be prouder. And knowing what those two have accomplished and will accomplish, I'm excited for this match.
Yeah. And so we have that match, and then there's a match that we don't really know who is going to be involved completely yet. I know that both of you are hoping that it's you. Let's talk about James Johnson because in the ring, there's not a lot of people that are going to hit you harder than James. So how do you prepare for that? I said not a lot of people, okay? How do you prepare for that, especially coming off of a match where you're involved with many different competitors. That's got to be draining, and then now you have to go on and fight somebody that's going to try to beat you down.
I've known James. Let me rephrase that. I've known of James for a majority of my career. James Johnson's always been up here.
Yeah.
He's been the name. He's been the aura of James Johnson, and then from hearing the stories to being in the same locker room with him and watching him perform and watching him wrestle, he lives up to the hype. And in any other situation, this would definitely be a dream match for me. Definitely has been a dream match for me. But with everything at stake and everything that I feel like I have to do this Saturday, I'm not really looking at James, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was a prize that Mark wanted. There's a prize that I want. And in order for me to feel like I honored him properly, I've got to take that from James. And I'm sorry, CJ, but it's going to be me.
Well, I do respect you, and I respect everybody else in that locker room. And I respect James Johnson, even though that both the times that me and him have been in the ring together, the first time he cheated and hit me in the head with like a piece of his leg brace. That, I mean, technically, I guess the ref didn't, when you get patted down at the beginning of the match, the ref was like, well, that's part of his gear, but then he ended up using it. And then you go on to fight the last time that I had to fight him, and he basically injured me prior to the match to where I didn't have full function of my left arm. So after my arm and shoulder have been run into a ring post, it's kind of hard to do a lot of what I'm able to do. So going on both sides, I'm going to address it fully and like with everybody. I respect you, Trey. I feel like that you're going to be a very intimidating and hard person to get out of the match. And I'm not going to be the guy to tell you that you're not going to be the one to win it. I'm going to say that you have your reasons that you need to win, and I have my reasons that I need to win. And at the end of the day, it's going to be, because you got to keep in mind, we're not just going to be in here, me and you. This is going to be us and a whole locker room full of other people. And you could get eliminated by somebody that's not even me, because, me and you may not even lay hands on each other. Vice versa, I could get eliminated by somebody that's not even me, because I'm trying to keep all of my eyes everywhere to see, okay, I'm looking at not just one or two people, but I'm looking at a whole locker room of people. And then I'm moving on. Like you said, James is not really my first concern. My first concern is getting these other however many people are going to be here out, then moving on to getting my next match with James Johnson. Now, I end this by saying that I do wish you the best of luck in it, and I hope that you're able to come out on top. If it's not me, there's nobody better than 24 karat Trey Havoc. I respect that. At the same time, I will say this. If you win this and you step forward to go one-on-one with James for that championship, I've been in the ring with him twice. I've also held that belt 2 times. You need to watch your back, because he will pull out every tactic that he can. Because of him being in the top scene for so long, he knows a lot of tricks and he knows a lot of ways to keep him in that top scene. So just keep your eyes open and watch what he does, because I'm telling you, he'll do whatever he has to do to keep that belt around his waist.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate both of you taking the time to talk with me, share your stories of Mark, talk about the event at hand. This event is taking place this Saturday at Southern Pines, the National Guard Armory. The doors are going to open at 6:30. The bell time is 7:30, and all proceeds are going to the family of Mark Hazzard. So if you're thinking about a wrestler or a show to go to, I think this is one. Not only are there going to be great action, but it's a great cause. So thank you guys again, and good luck to both of you this Saturday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Love you, man. Ugh.